This empty lot in North Houston has a story to tell because it's where a Houston firefighter died.
What's the emergency?
Emergency, the house is on fire, please. Somebody's in the house.
Where's the patient at?
This is the house that once stood here and what it looked like when Captain Darren Unruh rushed inside.
It's a terrible sense of dread when you think someone is going to die.
Oh my God!
The firefighters' co-workers still don't know how it happened, but when Unruh went in the back door looking for victims, he became one. They dragged his lifeless body from the building 5 minutes later, did CPR for 6 minutes more.
District 34, you have a mayday at your event.
And he was unrecognizable. Totally unrecognizable.
His protective mask was gone. The burns were third degree.
It just didn't look like the person that I knew.
It took 11 minutes total to get a pulse again, to bring him back from the dead. Then doctors kept him in a coma for 5 long weeks.
It was a horrible sight.
Given the burns to his face, his scorched lungs, and those 11 minutes dead, his wife didn't know how much of her husband would ever wake up.
There was a fear of, him being brain damaged. I was terrified of that.
How are you still here?
Yeah,
We don't know.
the grace of God. It is a darn good question. And why am I still here?
But this is Darren Unruh today. It's been 2.5 long years.
Taking it one day at a time.
Skin grafts to rebuild his eyelids, a cornea transplant for a damaged left eye, months in a protective mask, months of pain, and at least a few days of not wanting to live at all.
It's difficult being burned. It's hell. It's hell being burned. And I remember not wanting to be here. And I remember sitting on my bed thinking, Darren, you can't quit. You have to keep on pushing. You have to.
But his survival isn't the only reason we're sharing his story. You probably noticed we're talking with Darren in a fire station, Station 68. He's in a captain's uniform again.
I'm a dead man walking. I have a second chance at life.
And he's taking that second chance right back into the line of fire.
I think it's my reasonable service. And I wanted to be able to look back on my life and be proud of, I was a firefighter. I think this is who you are. I think this job is who you are.
There's something else you should know about this street where Darren Unruh almost died. When he decided to come back to be a firefighter again, the very first call he got was on this very same street, just a few doors down.
And I said, Lord, what are you trying to tell me?
Same street.
Same street.
But he fought through that too and believes that with the help of his family, his doctors, his church, and his fellow firefighters, this is where he's supposed to be.
I said, Darren, you were dead. So you had nothing to do but get better from that point. You were dead for like 10 minutes. It's nothing short of a miracle.
I've learned that he has a inner strength.
So what do you see when you look at the face and the scars of Darren Unruh? He sees a miracle. His wife sees something else too.
This is a true test of perseverance, and he's truly had to overcome great obstacles, and he's worthy of my admiration.
As a husband, a father, and a firefighter willing to lay it on the line again.
I definitely believe that is part of my reasonable service. Definitely part of my reasonable service.
We have everybody accounted for.
It's a thankless job, but it's an awesome job.
In Southwest Houston, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.
And Kevin, luckily those officers were already very close by.
That's right. Those officers were just a block away up Commerce working at a Christmas party at an attorney's office when the car came racing down Commerce across this curb and right through this guardrail into Buffalo Bayou. Officers don't yet know why, but we do know they were willing to jump into this cold water to save the driver if they could. By the time the first ambulance arrived, 2 Houston cops were already in the water. They pulled the driver from the bayou, performed CPR, and were diving into the car. No masks, no scuba, just holding their breath and searching the murky water by feel. Rene Calderon was one of those cops.
We were checking the car for other occupants. We didn't find any. Hope and pray there's none in there. We did the best we could to check. We saw the lady floating in the bayou and face down, so we just went in there and grabbed her and started CPR on her, and we were able to revive her, I think.
They did revive her, and she was carried up the embankment and taken to the hospital in critical condition. But now the question, what happened?
We saw him flying down. I mean, she was going so fast.
Witnesses say she never tried to stop, sped west on Commerce, crashed through the railing on Milam, and sailed into the bayou, her car upside down.
I was thinking she might have had a seizure, or maybe her brakes went out or something, so I don't know.
Police don't know either. They only know that because officers were just a block away when the crash happened, that they gave a driver a fighting chance to survive. How are you, sir? You'll say it's all in a day's work, right?
Yeah, that's what the citizens expect from us. So.
At this point, the officers believe she was the only one in that car, but they won't know for sure until they get a chance to talk to her. But at last check, she was still in critical condition. Live in downtown Houston, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.
So now we're confirmed we got 2 suspects inside, correct?
In our search for a bank robber, for a man who could tell us what makes a bank robber tick, we ended up in Amarillo with a robber and a story. Kind of a quiet corner of the world up here most of the time, isn't it?
Really quiet.
You might not expect.
You know, I've never been violent where I beat people up or shoot them or stab them or anything.
His name is Randy Laird. He has a rap sheet a few decades long, starting with a grocery store in Conroe and ending with 3 bank robberies in Houston.
It's desperate people do desperate things in desperate times. Westheimer.
So desperate that after his last bank, a Bank of America on Westheimer, his getaway car was a Metro bus.
Just really got desperate. You'll do anything for the drug. Yeah, I'm high, and didn't think about anything except my next fix. You know, it's crazy, but that's what you do, is crazy things.
And research suggests that up to 75% of all bank robbers are like Randy, motivated by drugs, trying to get enough money for their next score. And the FBI says they score often up to $43 million taken in this country last year, with only about $8 million of that actually recovered from robbers like Randy, who prefer a bank next to a freeway.
Easy access to either get lost in a neighborhood or easy access to a freeway.
But he always had his eyes open for the banks with the worst security.
Because there's a Houston police lady working security with her feet propped up on the table, and she was probably 100 pounds overweight. And she's got the Houston Chronicle reading it and eating a bag of popcorn. And I said, I just got to do this.
But this is where Randy's story takes an unexpected turn. A heart attack in prison, quadruple bypass surgery, and they let him out early. Which is why we found him on the front porch of that mobile home in Amarillo.
It was time to change, do something for somebody else. So now I try to give back.
And he gives back here.
God bless y'all. Yes, sir.
God bless you, brother.
He took us under a downtown Amarillo bridge, a tent city.
You want any more food?
Where he and his wife Janice hand out food and clothing to the homeless.
Thank you.
There's a few still that care, and you know, it makes us feel good to know that.
You got plenty to stay warm with tonight?
By the way, we should better introduce you to his wife.
They're bringing all different sizes.
Because she just happens to be...
I'm a vice president of a bank.
Yes, a bank vice president, married to a man who has robbed more than one.
I think the guy that he is now is the guy that he really has always been. At the time, he did some things that were not good, but I know that he's a good, loving person, and he cares a lot for other people. I don't question him because I know his heart.
Something's better for you tomorrow, believe that.
Something better will come along.
Yeah, it will.
The story of a repentant bank robber like this is rare. Randy knows that. So he offers this advice to anyone desperate enough to be a bank robber too.
My mom used to always tell me the chickens always come home to roost, and they do. Yes, you may get away with it once or twice, but at some point they're going to get you or kill you.
And a dozen are killed in the act by police each year, long before they get a story like this. In Amarillo, Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News. Across the road from Luis Tercios' repair shop on busy industrial Beaumont Highway, it was a horrible accident to begin with. A man walking in the right-hand lane hit by a white truck. It was an accident. No charges filed. The pedestrian was dead.
Tres personas estaban aquí.
But Luis Tercios' friend showed us where the repair shop owner had run across the highway to help. He was on the phone with 911 when a second driver in this blue pickup came barreling through.
So many lives go away.
In broken English, listen to a sister's broken heart.
I want to tell everybody to don't drive when drink.
Luis was critically injured. A tow truck driver slightly injured too by this woman, 62-year-old Lydia Mejia. She didn't stop. Tow truck drivers chased her for a mile, and police believe she may have been under the influence.
When we are driving in bad conditions using drugs and drive, they cannot imagine their heart which are going to be broke after that.
Luis Tercios was 47 years old. He had 5 children, came to this country from El Salvador 13 years ago, hoping that on this busy highway he would find his American dream. Instead, it ends here. But on Luis's truck, we found this bumper sticker, "Practice random acts of kindness." It says, and that's what he did.
God sent him to go try to save another life.
His family's only comfort as a hit-and-run driver brings a dream to an end. Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.
Yonder come a Miss Rosie, how in the world do you know?
As the legend goes, the Midnight Special was Huddy Leadbelly Ledbetter's ode to the prison.
Let the Midnight Special.
He couldn't wait to leave.
You ever go to Houston? Boy, you better walk right.
Midnight Special, the train he could see from his prison window, the train that let him know Houston and freedom were just down the line. Instead, at the end of this month, it's the end of the line for the prison that Leadbelly once called home.
We can go to the housing area.
This is the last tour inside the Central Unit Prison.
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Here for 102 years, the second oldest prison in Texas. The main building still without air conditioning.
Oh, it's hot in there.
Has held prisoners in several dorms, 30 men in each at a time. Housed together on the first and second floors with only large circulation fans stir the summer Texas air. And in the stifling heat up here on the third floor, this is one of 7 units. This has been solitary confinement since the 1930s. But now the last inmates here get to help cut their prison apart, help the state salvage what it can before all this history goes up for sale.
The Central Prison Unit has a rail line on the south side of it as well as the airport, so it's a perfect location.
A perfect location for Sugarland to grow. From a prison window you can see why the Central Unit is going away. What was once nothing but endless acres of cotton and sugarcane farmed by inmates is now some of the most populated, and this the most valuable 325 acres in all of Fort Bend County. The Sugarland Airport is next door. Developers in the city want all this for a modern business park. So the Central Unit's 1,000 inmates and 200 guards have been moved to other prisons, and a warden is looking for his next job.
Initially, once they got over the shock, because it was pretty much a shock for them, a lot of them were here a long time.
There is no shock, however, among the inmates.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Terrell Griffin called this home for 18 months.
This is probably one of the worst places I've been to. I tell
he was convicted of burglary.
Inmates that if I had came here first, I would not go back to another system again.
And like Leadbelly before him, he's got no love for this place. What inmate would?
I never do that.
Be sorry to see it go.
It needed condemning a long time ago.
Planners don't know yet how much of this will be condemned. If any of these buildings or these 100-year-old live oaks that line the prison driveway will be saved, or if they'll repeat what happened with the old Central Unit Prison farmhouse a few miles away, completely restored and now a museum of natural science.
I hate to kind of see the officers have to be affected by it, but as far as what happens from here, I'm indifferent.
As the inmates removed their old prison beds, a piece of graffiti, a Bible verse, or a prayer would be revealed, much like the old lines old Leadbelly used to sing.
Started me to grieve and hollering and crying.
One last refrain for a prison that will fade away as Sugar Land and Fort Bend continue to grow. Kevin Reece, KHOU 11 News.